Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jana Vallabha Girivarari Jaya Jana Vallabha Girivarari Yashodanandana Madhyana Ranjana Yashodanandana Madhyana Ranjana Yashodanandana Madhyana Ranjana Yashodanandana Madhyana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivarari Yashodanandana Vajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Shrishniman His Divine Grace Bhajya Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki His co-NBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Maha Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanande all glorious assembly devotees all glorious assembly devotees all glorious assembly devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Goenga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Shiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Sarvabhauma Mudiraye Astabraisha Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastiki Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravan Kirtan Hari Dandasaya Bhagavani Vinod Sritatam Krishna Swadham Upadate Dharmadandi Saha Kalavastari Shamisha Uradar Kundalanistiha Maha Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Verse 71. The title of chapter is Talks between Narada and King Prachinabarhi, or the meaning of the story of King Puranjana, according to Shravati Thakur. Okay, repeat after me. Sukti Murchupata Pishu Sukti Murchupata Pishu Suktu Murchupata Pishu Pranayana Vidhatataha Pranayana Vidhatataha Pranayana Vidhatataha Nihate Ham Iti Jnanam Dehateham iti jnanam Mrityu Prajwalayo Api Mrityu Prajwalayo Api Mrityu Prajwalayo Api Suptimuchopatapeshu Pranayana vigatataha Dehatehamiti jnanam Mrityu prajwalayorapi Suptimuchopatapeshu Pranayana vigatataha Dehatehamiti jnanam Mrityu prajwalayorapi Suptimuchopatapeshu Pranayana vigatataha Dehatehamiti jnanam Mrityu prajwalayorapi. Try. Word by word, Supti in deep sleep. Deep sleep. Murcha, fainting. Upatapeshu, or in great shock. Pranayana, of the movement of the life air. Vigatataha, from prevention. Na, not. Ihate, thinks of. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Jnanam, knowledge. Mrityu, while dying. Prajwalayo, or during high fever. Api, also. Translation from the Sanskrit to English. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. Okay, let's go repeat together. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock, on account of severe loss, at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self.
Knowledge of identifying the body with the self.
Purport by His Divine Grace and Vaishnava Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Foolish people then the extent of the soul, but it is affected then when we sleep, we forget the identity of the material body, and when we awake, we forget the identity of the cellular body. In other words, while sleeping, we forget the activities of the gross body, and when active in the gross body, we forget the activities of sleeping. What is day for one is night for another. Actually, both states, sleeping and waking, are creations of the illusory energy. The living entity actually has no connection with either the activities of sleep or the activities of the so-called awakened state. When a person is in deep sleep or when he has fainted, he forgets his gross body. Similarly, under chloroform or some other anesthetic, the living entity forgets his gross body and does not feel pain or pleasure during a surgical operation. Similarly, when a man is suddenly shocked by some great loss, he forgets his identification with the gross body. At the time of death, when the temperature of the body rises to 107 degrees, the living entity falls into a coma and is unable to identify his gross body. In such cases, the life air that moves within the body is shocked up, and the living entity forgets his identification with the gross body. Because of our ignorance of the spiritual body, of which we have no experience, we do not know of the activities of the spiritual body. And in ignorance, we jump from the false platform to another. We act sometimes in relation to the gross body and sometimes in relation to the subtle body. If by Krishna's grace we act in our spiritual body, we can transcend both the gross and subtle bodies. In other words, we can gradually train ourselves to act in terms of the spiritual body. As stated in the Narada Pancharataka, Rishikena Rishikesha Sivanam Bhakti Uchati, devotional service means engaging the spiritual body and spiritual senses in the service of the Lord. When we are engaged in such activities, the actions and reactions of the gross and subtle bodies cease. Om Ajnana-Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur-Miritam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistan Steptan Yena Bhutale Swayam-Rupakadamahim Tadat Swampadantikan Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtya Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat. Suptimuchopatapeshu pranayana vigatataha nehate hamiti jnanam mrityu prajvarayorapi. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss, at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. Hare Krishna. Good morning to everyone. Thanks to coming to Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, our food diary. Now we will begin with the translation by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur for this verse 71. Only because of the stoppage of movement of the senses in the states of sleep, fainting, and deep grief, and in the states of death and death fever, one has no self-awareness, but the subtle body does not cease to exist. Okay, this is verse 71. I decided to do a summary from the verses 59 to this verse 71, because this continent is very, very special. Like the Sankhya philosophy in third canto by Kapila Deva, this session from the verse 59 to 79 is very, very special, because we have a scientific analysis about the reincarnation. And reincarnation and karma law, these two cannot be separated. I read yesterday a specialist talking the reincarnation like the coadjuvant actor of the karma law. So karma law and reincarnation is very, very important to understand the relationship of the jiva and prakriti, or prakriti purusha. Prakriti purusha, jiva, and the material nature is the base of the Sankhya philosophy. And if you understand how this material world working, you can escape from this place. Again, Krishna Thakur said by this chapter, in the 29th chapter, the spiritual explanation of the story of Puranjana is given, along with question of the king concerning karma and story to illustrate renunciation. So, in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam that goes from verses 59 to 79, we have an in-depth analysis of the karma law. Judicially, since the law of karma is about cosmic punishment or reward, celestial planets or hellish planets. How is it possible to enjoy or suffer the consequences of a certain work if this occurred in a past body, which we no longer remember? The basis of the question, the problematic sustained by Patinabhasha Maharaj. And reincarnation is a very important question for this actual society, yes. One argument of this hedonist society is, if I have only one life, I will try enjoy the maximum. Yes, the life is one only, I need to try maximum. But if one understands that we have many lives, and this life have a purpose, we can act in different ways, yes, with knowledge. Now the Muni's direct and immediate response to the king is that, however, said that there is an end to the previous body. The gross and lower body is destroyed at the time of death, but body means subtle and gross body. This actually society only knows gross body, because this is the empiric body, the body made by earth, fire, air, ether. This is touchable, yeah? This is visible, this is empiric. For we understand the platform, the gross platform that this society are now. The society don't know nothing about the subtle body, including for the philosophers of mind, what they think about mind. Mind is a product of the brain. Yes, the neuroscience started around the decade of 50, and resumed the mind only to the activities of the brain. But the brain don't have nothing with the mind. Include the seat, the place of the mind and the consciousness, citta, in our body is on heart, not in the brain. Such a gross body, being a kind of machine or car, Maya, Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, verse 61, is driven by the subtle body, while the subtle body from which activity or work springs always continues until the moment of liberation. Yes, gross body is very, very short. This society give a lot of importance to gross body. If the gross body is beautiful, I'm beautiful and stay happy. If the gross body is ugly, I'm ugly and stay sad. If the gross body is old, I'm stay sad also. If the gross body is young, I will enjoy now. All these things is based on the gross body. But the gross body is short, and the subtle body, that is the real prison of the soul of the Jivatma, this continues for many, many, many lives. While we not get the liberation, this subtle body continues, yes, bringing arrested the soul for this body, for another body. This body is more pious, this body more sinful. As karma can be understood as a law of action and reaction, even Isaac Newton, the third law of Newton, every action have a reaction similarly or opposed. Yes, the third law of Newton. Sorry, the English. Was able to observe this function in nature as reaction to the movements of the subtle body and its association with the different modes of nature. We have the transmigration of the soul and the subtle body to another body produced by such consciousness or subtle body in connection with the gunas. Remember, for the karma law, for the reincarnation, the gunas is very important because we not have association with a group of person, with another group of person, with this thing, with another thing. Behind of all things in the material world are three energies, three gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattva. And the association with these gunas that decide our next destination. The association with these gunas form our consciousness, the cover of our consciousness. So here in this session of 20 verses, as well as in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 verses 8 to 11, we will have an analytical science about the process of reincarnation. The first example given by Narada Muni to clearly explain the subtle body, who, remember, the example was given in verse 60 to illustrate the subtle body, the example of the dream. The subtle body is more perceived, is more easy to identify in a dream, because the dream is a subtle platform. The onirical platform is a subtle, so the subtle body can move in this dream platform. While we sleep, we can have access to residues from events in past lives or in different gross bodies. Just as researchers such as Schopenhauer, Freud, our Jung point out, we have our habitual and routine consciousness, but there is a much vaster and generally inaccessible layer known as the subconscious, yes, which is nothing more than layers and layers of consciousness formed in past gross bodies, and which can be accessed at the time of dream. Now, moving further emphasis that nothing can be created and that everything else already been experienced at some point. So, in the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, the thinkers begin to speak about the consciousness and the subconscious. What is this? In the level, in the condition of wakeful, when we are awake, we have the consciousness. But we have a state of consciousness much more big. That is subconsciousness. What is this subconsciousness? Everybody knows iceberg. Iceberg in North Pole. What we can see that is out of other is a small part of the iceberg. The big portion of the iceberg, the big portion of this big stone, big mountain of ice are inside of water. Similarly, when we are wake state of consciousness, we have a section, a very small part of the consciousness. The big portion of the consciousness is subconscious, is under. Or like we have, this example is more difficult to me give in English. We have a ground, but in the ground, deep in the ground, we have levels of earth. Like an onion have a different levels. What happens when are asleep in the dream movement? In the dreaming, we can have access to this subconscious. Sometimes this is clear, sometimes not. Sometimes in the major part of time we forget these dreams. Another tool that we have access to this subconscious, I will not make apologize, I only explain in a scientific way. Another way, more precise, to have contact with this subconscious is with the entheogenous substance like ayahuasca, like LSD, like peyote. Not cocaine or alcohol, but this entheogenous substance, we have access to this subconscious. Because this is the people's like, now I have a spiritual experience with this substance, but not this experience. This is a remembrance, is residues from the very past lives that stay harmonized, that keep in the subconscious. But the substances have access to the subconscious, or in dreams we have access to the subconscious that is formed by the experiences in previous lives, in gross body in previous lives. In verses 6.2 and 6.3, as Narada spoke about the subtle body or consciousness composed by ego, intelligence and mind, of this, the mental condition is one of the preponderant factors at the time of the transmigration of soul. So, Narada gives the example of the dream. that we can experience the Sutta body. And in Sutta body, our consciousness, what is the more preponderant factor in the Sutta body or in consciousness? The more important is the mind, mana. Because the mana, thinking, willing, winking, this is the main portion of yoga. If you control your mind, if you focus your mind in self-realization, you can advance it. But if you put the focus of your mind in material things, you can degrade it. So the mind and the consciousness have this very, very important paper. Yes, the desire. This is the role of the mind. All our mental impressions, sanskaras, our fitness, impetus, propensities, conceptions of life and images, thoughts, and even our reactions produced in the mind. In verse 65, it concludes, open quote, verse 65, therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his former body. Take this from me for granted. So, Narada Muni put the importance of the mind in the process of transmigration, in the process of the previous life, and especially the next body that we will get, that we will achieve. Verse 66 opens by advocating and concluding on the importance of the mind. Quote, O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and the future bodies. See how the mind is important, because the mind is the key of yoga process. Yoga means huge connection. When the mind, when our things, our desires are connected with God, with the Supreme, we have a chance to spiritualize our consciousness. But when the mind are focused in material things, the soul will degrade in different types of form of lives, animal form of lives. Yeah, the mind is very important. Verse 69 works with the opposite logic. This is very interesting in Bhagavad Gita. When you study more concentrated Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very normal, this logic. Yes, first they show a problem, but in the next verse show the solution. Krishna says, don't do this. But in the next verse, Krishna says, do this. So, Narada Muni explains what happens in the mind when the mind focuses in the material life. And now, Narada Muni will show the mind in your pure state, or Krishna consciousness, pure consciousness. Verse 69 works with the opposite logic. If the mind influenced by rajas and tamas leads to imprisonment, what would the state of the mind be like in pure goodness? What would the state of the mind be like in pure goodness? The expression used by Narada Muni is Satvaika Nishta Manasi. And this verse was working by His Grace Damodar Prasada. And what happens in the pure state of mind, Bhagavata Parsha Vartini, or constantly association with the Supreme Lord. When the mind are in material condition covered by the Rajas and Tamas, the mind only thinking, only imagine the material things. But the pure state of mind, what is the function of the mind? The mind was created to connect with Krishna, yoga, yuji, connection. This connection with God is by the mind. The devotional service occurs, happens in the mind platform. Yes? Remember of the sage that want to worship the deity, but he was very, very poor, and he don't have money, and he want to offer sweet rice to deity, and he don't have condition, and what he do? He start the process of Manasa Puja. He started make a sweet rice to Narayana in his mind. Sweet rice is very nice, cold or ambient temperature. He did sweet rice, but the finger and the gross board burn. This is very interesting, very didactic example how the subtle body, the consciousness, is too much more important than the gross body, and where occur the devotional service is in the mind. So in mind, in your real, in your natural position, in natural consideration of mind, the mind only thinking in Krishna, only thinking in God. I have a verse, a famous verse to support this. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam Yadyate Tatra Pumam Apavartaha. Sattu Chantasmin Bhagavam Vasudevo Hiyadokshajo Me Manasa Vidyate. This verse was spoken by Lord Shiva to Sati when the Daksha offended Lord Shiva. I, Lord Shiva, I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. Only in Vasudeva Sattva, in Vishuddha Sattva, in the pure state of the mind, in this pure state of the consciousness, Krishna reveals in our mind. In the practice, how is this? Prabhupada gives a perfect example in the Jatshloka of Bhagavatam, verse Canto 2, chapter 9, verse 35. Quote of Prabhupada: the vision of the devotees is not ordinary. It is purified by the process of devotional service. In other words, as the universal elements are both within and without, similarly the Lord's name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, etc., as they are described in the revealed scriptures or as performed in the Vaikuntha Lokas, far beyond the material cosmic manifestation, are factually being televised in the heart of the devotees. Yes? In this purport, Prabhupada comments that the mind of devotees is like a television. So this example was given in the 70 and 60 years. So the television is a very, very new happenings, yes? So Prabhupada explained Vaikuntha lokas, far, far beyond the material cosmic manifestation, are factually being televised in the heart of devotees. So, when the pure devotee in state of mind, state of consciousness, in Vasudeva Sattva, he not are speaking theoretical. When Vishnu Thakur, when the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami describe the Krishna's pastimes, Prabhupada confirmed that it's like a television in the heart, is a television in mind of the devotee. Some stupids can take these entheogenous drugs like ayahuasca, LSD, and they say, I see God. This is not a vision of God. This is a vision produced by Rajas and Tamas, a substance, material substance like LSD. Krishna appeared in the mind of devotee only in Vishuddha Sattva, and only in transcendental stage of consciousness. Yes. Krishna is captured only by devotional service that is in Vishuddha Sattva, in the pure state of the mind. The man with a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand, although by material science one can see things far away by means of television. This is the interest. Factually, the spiritually developed person is able to have the television of the kingdom of God always reflected within his heart, in his consciousness. That is the mystery of knowledge of the personality of Godhead. And Chaitanya Charitamrita reveals to us how Rupa Goswami could understand the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rupa Goswami is famous because he have the mind connected with the mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the potency of Krishna consciousness. We can understand, we can have our mind connected with the mind of God. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistan Staptanyana Bhutale Swayanupakadamayan Tadat Swapadantikam. And Chaitanya Charitamrita said, Swarupa Goswami Jane Na Kahe Arta Tara Sri Rupa Goswami Kaila Se Arta Prachara. The meaning of those verses was known to Swarupa Damodar Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Sri Rupa Goswami has broadcast the meaning. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, chapter 13, verse 134. So, this is very intimate, because in Ratayatra, in the pastime of Ratayatra in Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like in the B talks of the 10th canto, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of Shantardani, when he shows Jagannatha, he shows Krishna. And in the mood of separation, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered many prayers to Lord Jagannatha in this mood. Like this pastime, the bees, the talking bees, when Srimati Radharani in a crazy mood talk with bee like it was Krishna's messenger. This is very sweet, this is very deep. And nobody understands what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says or what happens. Only Rupa Goswami knows. Yes, the mind of Rupa Goswami is connected with Krishna. So Rupa Goswami come back to home, yes, and write the verse in a palm leaf. After Lord Chaitanya take these leaves, how he can understand my mind, my thinkings? Yes, the Lord himself is very impressed with the deep mind of the Sri Rupa Goswami. If in verse 69, Narada Muni spoke about the ultimate goal, the point of mental purity that we must reach, in verse 70, he begins to describe the antidote or the path to solving our problems. So Lord Kapila concisely reveals to us in an allegory how we can melt this damn subtle boil. This is one of the small verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. Jarayati ashu yakoshan nigirnan manaloyata. Bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without a separate effort. Only for chanting Hare Krishna mantra, this subtle body covered by rajas and tamas is served. Just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Verse 33. As Narada Muni had given a first example in verse 61, the example of someone dreaming, to clarify the issue of the transmigration of the soul, now he begins to work with a second example. What will be this example? In verse 71, today's verse, to demonstrate how the gross body is separate from the subtle body. This is a conclude verse from Canto 11, but the main example will be given by the caterpillar that become a butterfly. The souls transmigrate from the body of the caterpillar to the body of a butterfly. This is very empirical. Everyone can see, observing this in the nature. But the point here is we have 3 levels of consciousness, and the gross body is beyond, is separated of this subtle body, and the soul is beyond of the gross and the subtle body. So Krishna explains to Uddhava, Yo jagare bahi anukshana dhamino vartan bhunti samasta karanayu riditat sadrikshan swapni susupta upasanharate saikaha ismrityam vaya triguna vriti drigi indrishaha. While awake, the living entity enjoys with all of his senses the fleeting characteristics of the material body and mind. While dreaming, he enjoys similar experiences with the mind, and in deep dreamless sleep, all such experiences merge into ignorance. This is very interesting because even in this body, our consciousness emerges in ignorance, but in a big scale, when happens the pralaya, when happened the dissolution by Lord Brahma goes sleeping in the end of his day, and the jivas go sleeping inside of the body of Lord Brahma. But when this whole universe is destroyed in Maha Pralaya by Lord Shiva, the living entities all go sleep in the body of the Maha Krishna. The Lord Vishnu and the Jivas like for sleeping outwards. By remembering and contemplating the succession of wakefulness, dreaming, and the deep sleep, the living entity can understand that he is one third out of the 3 stages of consciousness and is transcendental. Thus, he becomes the Lord of the senses. Yes? If you understand these 3 stages of consciousness, and that we, spiritual soul, are beyond, we don't have a connection with these 3 levels of consciousness, this is the key to control the senses. So, concluding the lesson and the content of today's verse, in the 3 phases of levels of consciousness, namely wakefulness, tat, sadrikshan, sleep, swapna, or swapni, or deep sleep, shushupti, the soul and its pure consciousness are beyond these 3 conditioned states relating to the subtle and gross material body. Okay? I'm finished here. If you have a comment to share, to Do you want to hear the verse again? When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of silver loss, at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, fever of death, at the time the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the born with the self. Yes. Yes. When we are in deep sleep, or when we go to make a surgery, Prabhupada gave the example of chloroform anesthesia, we lose totally the connection with the gross body.
And this regard just reminds me that the condition is always completely covered if they're in anesthesia, like in this. You see anesthesia? No. If you're in this state, then you completely lose connection, right? But then great personalities, great Vaishnavas, we have heard that they still maintain their Krishna consciousness. Like the ones that Prabhupada actually was chanting, I think the doctors called, and this old man is still vibrating, although he's in. And I also know a story from Srila Gaura Maharaj, where he was also quoting shlokas from the 10th canto while he was doing some operation on his foot.
This is the stage of Vasudeva Sattva in pure Krishna consciousness. This is beyond. One connection to this is in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna called Arjuna of good occasion. Yes, good occasion is a person can control the swapna, the sleep. Yes, because our sleep, my sleep, the dreams are in material things. We cannot control. But a pure devotee, even when he sleep, he dreams with Krishna. The Krishna pastimes illustrate your dreams. Yes, so total connection with the Supreme Lord in his activities. Okay.
I also heard once that actually, of course, the body needs some rest, but actually, what really needs rest is the mind, the false ego. Because we are experiencing so many things. So much tension.
Restless.
The break. But that means if one has his false ego is reduced and one becomes very pure, then there's no need so much rest. That's why such great personalities like Prabhupada and they don't need so much sleep because they are spiritually so much enlivened. And then the mind doesn't require
this is very interesting.
Interesting point.
Yes, this is very interesting because how we can prove God the empirical way? It's impossible, yes, because the senses, especially the scientific sense, cannot see God. But one empirical proof of God is the life of the saint persons, like Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, Gaura Govinda Swami, Saint Francis, and many. Because the life is totally different, it's totally superb, it's superior. Yes? This is a very powerful proof. And when one wants to search God, this is the proof. God exists because the life of these persons is totally different. It's totally amazing. Okay, thanks. Maha Krishna Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanande,
Maha Krishna ki,
Gaura Bhakta-vrinda ki jai.
Om Krishna 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 Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Shri Krishna Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Shri 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Shri Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Shri Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Der Rest, der reinkommt, kann Chris wieder rausnehmen. Genau, ohne Schuhe. Also stehen kannst du schon, es ist mehr, wenn du sitzt und so die Füße am Körper ins Gesicht streckst. Genau. Jetzt haben wir vorher kurz angesprochen, dass ja wir Krishna als obersten Gott verehren und auch auf eine monotheistische Art und Weise mehr oder weniger. Das heisst, wir glauben schon, dass es andere Götter gibt, aber für uns ist klar, Krishna ist der Oberste. Und unser ganzer Tag eigentlich dreht sich darum, um unsere Beziehung zu Krishna zu vertiefen, weil wir ja aus dem Kreislauf von Geburt, Krankheit, Alter, Tod ausbrechen. Wir glauben an die Reinkarnation, oder? Das haben wir, glaube ich, muss ich heutzutage nicht mehr erklären. So, und wir wollen aber nicht im nächsten Leben möglichst eine gute Geburt haben in einer reichen Familie oder in einer erfolgreichen Familie, sondern unser Ziel ist, das Erdendasein wirklich einfach ein für alle Mal hinter uns zu lassen und zurückzugehen in die spirituelle Welt, wo Krishna ist. Und darum dreht sich auch unser ganzer Alltag darum, dass wir uns auf das vorbereiten. Das heisst, wir probieren, unsere Beziehung zu Krishna immer mehr zu vertiefen. Und für uns ist Gott nicht irgendwie eine Energie oder etwas Formloses, wo man sich kein Bild machen darf. Unsere Schriften, die beschreiben ganz genau, wie sieht Krishna aus und was macht er eigentlich so den ganzen Tag und was hat er gern und was hat er nicht so gern. So, über das wissen wir Bescheid und probieren natürlich ihn entsprechend auch als Person zu behandeln. So, auf dem Altar sehen wir jetzt verschiedene Figuren. Welche Figur denkt ihr ist Krishna? Vielleicht müsst ihr ein bisschen näher kommen, dann sehen wir nämlich auch noch die kleinen Sachen auf dem Altar. Oder vielleicht muss ich anders fragen. Was fällt euch auf? Wenn ihr auf den Altar schaut, was fällt euch auf? Was sticht euch ins Auge? Ja.
Der mit der Falten.
Ja. Warum?
Weil Krishna hat immer Falten.
Sehr gut aufgepasst. Genau. Jetzt aber, wenn ihr Schriften leset über Krishna, dann nachher wird er ja nicht als jemand beschrieben, der keine Hände hat, oder? Sondern dann wird Krishna eigentlich beschrieben als ein Jüngling mit blauer Hauttönung und so. Also dort auf dem Bild oder auch auf diesem Bild sehen wir zwei Darstellungen von Krishna in seiner Menschengestalt. Und so wie Krishna auf dem Altar ist ganz eine spezielle Figur. Und zwar, sie ist wie wenn ihr ein Foto macht, wenn ihr, ich weiss nicht, geht ihr an die Fasnacht? Ist das noch das Ding? Ja. Also so verkleiden, irgendwie. Dann, oder wenn ihr in den Ausgang geht, dann hat eure Grossmami hat euch vielleicht noch nie so gesehen, wie wenn ihr in den Ausgang könnte ich noch sagen. Und wenn ihr irgendwie, jetzt habt ihr dann die Matura und dann euren Abschluss, dann werdet ihr euch nochmal anders anlegen und werdet wie auch eine andere Person sein gegen aussen.